Okay. So that computer sound, not to, like, we're right at the beginning, but that computer sound is a Packard Bell starting up from a YouTuber. I think he's a YouTuber named Dan Oct. Oh, right. The music is... Is that loud enough, or should I turn it up more? Okay, cool. It's just gonna loop the same. Okay, so is that the loop? This is I always forget on this. Yeah, loop track. So this this boot sequence doesn't exist in the game. It was just for the soundtrack. Now the boot sequence with the like the very beginning of it with the startup sound and the little sort of PC speaker sounding that's in the game, of course. But this whole little swell with the pan flutes and stuff, let me see. So you might notice here one thing to know. All right, so there's I don't know if I have my pan flute, but that's real pan flute. I just recorded it. It's easy to record pan flute when it's just like one note. It's like toot, 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 toot. But yeah, that's my pan flute. And then also there's two other things to point out. Let me see. So this is my electric ukulele, and this is not like an electric ukulele with just like, it has like actual like humbuckers, you know, like an electric guitar, but it's, so this is audible here though. Like the brown, brown, brown. Like that's the ukulele. You can hear that there. I think I had it in a space echo effect. And let's see. And the other thing to note, which is kind of like a, I don't know why, I know I thought it was so clever at the time. I don't know if it's very clever, but I do remember doing it on purpose. So here you'll hear in your left ear some strings, and those are mellotron. And then in your right ear are some sort of DX7 or Rompler strings, actually. I think they're Rompler. So if you don't know what a Rompler is, it's like, you know, 90s sample, 80s, 90s sample bank sounds. And so the mellotron is from the 70s. Well, it's from the 50s or 60s, I think, actually, but it was popular in the 60s and 70s. And it's an old, the first sampler, everyone says. So it was an old string sample from that people used, and like the Beatles used it, you know. And then the second one, the one in the other ear is the modern strings. So it was like time travel. Like there's the 70s, and then you're going forward in time as the two strings pan across your ear here, like that, and then yeah. Or for you, it would be the other way. But yeah, and that's again, yeah. So new era here is the intro video of Hypnospace. And
the future.
So that's a Fiverr actress, and she actually normal her gig was on Fiverr, which I first of all I used Fiverr a lot for Hypnospace, but I never paid anyone $5. That's awful. Most people charged a lot more actually on there. Most of the good people charged a lot more on Fiverr, but I kind of broke the rules sometimes, and I found people on Fiverr too, and then I just found their email, and then I emailed them because, if I can avoid it, I don't want some website to get a cut of what this person could get. So anyway, but this was through Fiverr because she did corporate phone, like, voiceover work. So I was like, oh, that's perfect, and she sounded perfect, sounded like a corporate friendly thing that would be like in a instructional video. So so got her for this.
The future is you, your passion, your imagination, your hard work. And now, with the help of Hypnospace, you have the tools and the time to make it a reality. Witness the dawning of a new world, where sleep time is no longer downtime. It's where the future is built. A future built by you. Hypnospace.
So I was debating not including the voiceover on the album, but I think it's kind of necessary. It's I recorded a dorky version of my voice saying it with the exact timing that I wanted her to say it because I knew it was going to go over this track. So she did that. She kind of mapped it to my voice. I don't have that recording anymore, but maybe it's on Fiverr. Actually, I could go look it up, but I'm not going to do that now. I'll accidentally show my login information probably. Anyway, yeah, I'm Roddy though. Yeah, I'm. Hello. East of the Coliseum or whatever. That's me. If you didn't know, I'm that guy. So of course, this if you didn't pick up on it, this a lot of stock music from the 80s that was recorded in the 80s but used in the 90s, like for like science and technology videos, or stuff you might watch in your classroom about computers. They used this kind of music that was very minimalism inspired, and I don't mean like minimalism. I mean like Steve Reich. Is that his name? How you say it? Steve Reich and his ilk is like kind of a genre in the late 70s of modern. I don't know. It's kind of like in the world of modern classical music, where they would have orchestras play this stuff. Music for 18 musicians is kind of like that a little bit. But either way, a lot of the stock music, though, was inspired by that. Like a lot of repetition and then like rhythmic modulation where they'd repeat a phrase over and over and then another phrase of a different length. And then they would kind of overlap in an interesting way and stuff like that. So that's what that is. I think this song has some 4/4 and then a 7/8. So this is in 7, so it's
your passion, your imagination.
It's like a 4 plus 3, like, or 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3. It's a 7, and then there's a 4/4, like that's kind of overlapping it. Some other phrase in there subtly.
Witness the dawning of a new world, where sleep time is no longer downtime. It's where the future is
anyway.
built. A future built by you. Hypnospace.
But to me, like, I just remember that stuff being used in like ads about computers and stuff, and it felt like the future to me. So this wasn't directly inspired by any particular ad or anything. It's just I kind of feel like I remember things sounding that way in some advertisements back then, and in like some documentaries that were trying to get you excited about technology. So that's kind of what I was doing there. Yeah, some of the fiber I showed her, and I told her, everyone I told they get a credit, and I asked their names for the credits. It's funny though because I think they get so many jobs, they don't know if anything's actually legit or it'll come out. So most people were like, "Oh, that's nice, thanks," and like they didn't really care that much. The people who did more involved things, like the people I emailed, who did like bass parts for some things and stuff, like some of those dudes were more interested and into it, but yeah. Anyway, so the next thing is sleep time computing, and this might have been the first track. This song that isn't in the game. It's a trailer song, and I guess we'll listen to it first. Hi, Damien. Let me see if I missed anything in the chat. Yeah, the voiceover. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'll listen to this. Okay, I'm sorry to pause already, but I want to show you something else. That's not a ukulele, however. Okay, so this guitar is I haven't used this in like 2 years, but this guitar. But this is I took off the top and bottom strings, and so it's basically, there are some baritone is what they call them guitars. I don't know, but it's basically I made it into a ukulele, like a tuning ukulele, because my first instrument was ukulele and I'm good at it. So I was like, well, I don't have time to learn a new instrument for this soundtrack, and I want guitar. So I just tuned it like a ukulele, and it has the high G, so it's G, C, E, A, just these 4 strings. And then, just using the ukulele tuning on a guitar. So that's what you're hearing here. It's just a guitar with 4 strings and the ukulele tuning. Five, 8. Yeah, I always do that. And more of that pan flute, which I used a lot of like instrumentation because that have like sort of shamanistic connotations, because there was this sort of quasi spiritual vibe to like how the early web was promoted. Like it felt like they were taking ideas of like shared consciousness and like we're all one and stuff, and using that as like a metaphor for the internet, like we're all connected. And so there were in these ads and in like promotional material and documentaries, I think companies loved that too. It made it look more, investors were going wild there before the bubble burst, and the .com bubble, and it made it look big. It made it look like the next era of civilization, and it kind of was really. But so I'm tried to use a lot of this like sort of to imply this sort of quasi spiritual, thing a little bit in there. Yeah. So yeah. Oh yeah. In the comments, yeah, Jamoni, is that how you say your name? Said that they tried it again with the metaverse. And yeah, I don't think they were very successful there. I don't think anyone got excited for that. But anyway, so one thing I wanted to note is that one common thread among all of the Hypnospace music on, well, a lot of the sequenced music too, is spring reverb, which is normally associated with surf rock, and that's, well, I don't want to. That's this unit, and I have it just hooked right into my ins and outs on my audio interface. I can't put my voice through it right now because of OBS, but and spring reverb, if you don't know, is in old amps, and basically it runs this signal, or mini amps, and surf rock used it a lot. It has a splashy kind of sound characteristic, and it runs the audio signal literally just through metal springs, and then it comes out the other end, and it adds this sort of strange, almost aquatic sound like this to whatever you put in there. And Hypnospace, one of the first things that Mike put in there, well, not one of the first things, but one of the first bits of polish that me and him, we workshopped together to really nail it down, was when the pages are loading, they have this warbly quality, and they like sort of feel like liquid, and you hear like a liquidy kind of processing sound. And my thought was like, what was that? Okay, so instead of the real internet where you just see the images load like this, what if it's almost like they're piped in through fluid or something? Now, that's not the lore or anything, but I thought aesthetically that could be interesting. And so along with that, and because I just like the sound of it, I tried to put a little bit of this on like everything in the game to give it like this cohesion a little bit. Like spring reverb is mixed into a lot of stuff. Even some of the tracks that like Glamocaster even, which had a lot of spring reverb anyway, because Shane, who recorded that, like spring reverb. But when I mastered it, I just put like 5%. I ran it through this, recorded it through this, and then just left 5% in there just so you could hear, so it had a little of that quality to it. So maybe it all would sound like it's being filtered a little bit through. It has this liquid quality a little bit to it. So I don't know if that actually is anything you can detect. And some tracks I forgot, or by the end of development, I was just like, I'm not running everything through this. And I did it either through a VST to fake it, or I didn't do it at all. But when I had all the time in the world, I was running everything through this. And so, yeah. But this track was, I think it was right after the Kickstarter ended. I made this track, I think, and it wasn't even during the Kickstarter. In fact, I'm going to skip to the end of the album, because in the Kickstarter, that's 2016. So we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of the Kickstarter for Hypnospace. Oh yeah, someone asked if I know what I'm going to do next. And yeah, I'm working on 3 things. 2 are old things that I promised a long time ago. And then 1 thing is a new game. So I guess I'll just quickly go over that. There's a video about it, but the 1 thing is a Slayer's X update. And that there's 1.5 levels, or you could, if you count the boss, 2.5 levels done for that. But I paused that a little bit because I want to finish this Hypnospace multimedia experience, is what it's called. And I have the project here, but I don't want to open this program because you'll see the files from my other game and it'll spoil things. But and that is a behind the scenes about Hypnospace. A lot of the information in this that I'll talk about here will be in that, and it's a lot. It's just like a CD-ROM type application, and I'm gonna put it for free on Steam or charge like a small amount or something like that, like $1.99, something like that, because it is kind of a high effort thing. Yeah, it's coming though pretty well. But basically all the things I see people ask about, or what inspires a lot of the content in that Hypnospace multimedia experience, is in YouTube comments or in Reddit threads or forum threads about the game. When people get things wrong, then I'm like, oh, I got to address this. And it's not to correct them, but it's because, well, obviously this is a thing someone's curious about and they're speculating. And then I'm like, now certain things about lore, particularly, I don't want to I don't want to invent answers to. Like, so sometimes people will ask about like the technological specifications of some of the hardware, and the answer to all that is I didn't think about any of it, so I could certainly make something up for you, something new, and pretend like it was the lore, and I guess it would be. But so all that stuff where some of the things that are shrouded in mystery, just because of that, I'm not going to expound upon them. And some of the characters who I think are better left as mysteries a little bit, I'm not going to go into more than I should, but definitely the inspirations for a lot of the characters and stuff. Anyway, so we should do the music. Good night. Okay, so I'm going to do here, this song is probably the first ever song I recorded for this game, probably in 2015. And that's this. 2014 was when I started planning it and thinking about it. But so it's this. And in the background, you can hear the ukulele a little, like. So it was always kind of like, no, the Hypnospace Outlaw was always going to have web pages in a web browser, but it wasn't always going to be the main thing. So you were going to like look up people's pages and find where they had broken the law, and then you would jump onto this highway and chase them down and put them under arrest. And the highway though was kind of like an open world. It was a looping open world kind of thing where each of the zones, like Good Time Valley would have had its own highway, and Open Eyed would have had its own highway, and you'd see like little props and stuff of like the zones, and you could even in the original design, you could even pull into an exit and like enter a people's websites that way. Like you can pull off the road, and you would see like something representing their page and then visit their page that way. You could browse the internet on the highway. But it was always going to have pages and stuff. But it's just, once I started sharing the pages on Twitter, I was thinking it wasn't, the response was so positive to all the pages, and I was also thinking it was a design problem, because on one hand, you have this kind of semi-twitchy gameplay where you have to like navigate a highway with this car that's always moving. It's like an endless runner. And on the other hand, you had reading and like trying to keep information in your head. And I just think that the cross-section of people who would like both of those kinds of games would be pretty small. So I thought we should lean into the strongest direction. But the highway was supposed to be more involved even at the end of development. Like we wanted there to be like some case solving you could only do on that highway. And you could get viruses. There's even a feature in the game where you could get files from people's cars. You can kind of steal files out of their cars from their desktop, presume that they had on their desktop. And that works in there. We just didn't use it very much. I think maybe it's used for something. I don't know. Maybe Mike slipped an Easter egg or something, but yeah, we never used that. But that was all that highway stuff. When we got to the end of the game, I was like, shoot, we're not going to implement all this stuff. And then I was like, I know, I'll just make it look intentional, and I'll make this jerk character that's his like that's where he's failing. He can't finish this thing in time for the year 2000, and then it works because it's part of the story and it's supposed to suck. So boom, problem solved. And no one would know unless you didn't tell them that. So yeah, like it did take me a long time. Even at launch, I was like, oh man, I wish this could be so much like the original design where there were viruses, like the highway was going to get all wiggly and there were viruses and stuff like that. But obviously that was unnecessary. Would have been, you can add endless features to a game and they would all be very cool. But I think it was the right call to focus on the web side of it. Anyway. Okay. So, oh yeah, I know it's in the game, but anyway, but yeah, I just played that song because that was like the first ever thing for the game, and it even has a musical sort of motif from the first game, Hypnospace Enforcer, which really I'm a little embarrassed about, but it's just a product of its time and where I was at the time. It looks Hypnospace Enforcer is just super vaporwavy and kind of, I don't know. It's just not. It's all right, I guess. But I tried to make a point at the end of it about human worth or something, and I think that's much better done in a game like Hypnospace Outlaw. It was I liked it though. It's all right. It was fine. Hypnospace Enforcer, yeah, it was like kind of the prequel thing set in the far future. Anyway, hi. Double as 2380. Okay, so I just skipped it down there because that song I stuck at the end of Volume 1 because it was just a Kickstarter song. So now I'll go to, I guess I'll do the soundscape briefly. So this is also some of the first stuff I recorded for the game, this soundscape. And this also had electric ukulele. The little bam, 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 bam you'll hear with the delay. That's a real like delay pedal. And this little 4-note thing is also from the first game. I mean, it's so that I have a germanium overdrive pedal, and you can intentionally turn the voltage down to starve it. And so this sort of distortion here that you hear is like an extremely low voltage distortion, and it sounds like a battery dying almost. So that was really fun to put in. It has no meaning other than it sounds cool. So it's a germanium overdrive though. You can kind of change the pot to super low voltage. Anyway, I'll skip this because whatever, who cares. So Chill It Right was the first cool punk song I made for the game, and it was what I used to introduce our dev chat, which was just Mike Lash and then Mike Rose, the publisher, at the beginning, to the concept of cool punk and what it was supposed to be. So it was it was sort of loosely inspired by just this electronic power pop sort of, what do you call it? It's not power pop. There's a band called Freeze Pop that was a little similar, but even before them, there were sort of, there's a genre that's like a lot closer to it. I just can't think of the name. I have it blanking. But anyway, I'll play this a little bit. And you'll hear the spring reverb on the piano at the beginning is DX7 Bell piano sound, which, I don't know, it's a bit anachronistic. It was out of fashion at the time this song was supposed to have come out, but who cares, okay? So, Mysterious Maxi has just messaged that they went to my high school and and noticed all of the characters from Central Florida, which I think I wanted to comment on real quick because I hope this doesn't. Okay, I've subscribed to you. Okay, so. Don't post anything my kids aren't allowed to see, please. No, I'm just kidding. Whatever. Let me close this. I think posting the link on X early on was a big mistake. But anyway, okay. So this, what do I say about this? There's a lot to say about Cool Punk. There's a major seventh feeling to this. I don't remember the actual chords, but it sounds like it. Sevens and nines everywhere there. Or a minor seventh, actually. So, okay, here's how I'll describe Cool Punk. It was me trying to solve a problem with Hypnospace, and the problem was I wanted to kind of pick on Vaporwave a little bit. I was actually a little frustrated at Vaporwave as a genre at the time, because in 2016 when the game was being made, I wanted to like a lot of it, but I thought a lot of it was kind of boring. But the aesthetic of it, the image of it, was very compelling to me, with dead malls and all that kind of stuff. But the actual music itself was, other than a handful of groups like Death's Dynamic Shroud and some of Giant Claw, who was also in Death's Dynamic Cloud, and some of these other acts, like, it was kind of boring. Like, it just sounded like they slowed down a thing and put reverb on it, which to some people, that's what real Vaporwave is. But some of these other artists, like, were actually composing, I want some dense, I want some musical information, that intentional music. Like, I want them to compose something, with intentionality, not simply slow down a track and put, like, reverb on it. And then, so I liked the meaty stuff. Like, Olympics was like an album I was obsessed with. And the sequencing on the album and the way they used samples and stuff, it was just like, you could tell, like, music nerds were making it or something. Not to be, I'm being gatekeepy here, huh? But so that was kind of the thing, though. Like, the thing is like, I wanted it to sound like it could have been, though, from 1999 or 98 or around there. and not sound like vaporwave, which is just like reverb drenched stuff. So I was, because at the time, like, there were certainly some interesting, strange genres that you can find, but there was, it was a little different. Like the DAW wasn't super duper. It was new, like the digital audio workstation, like Ableton Live, Fruity Loops, Cubase, Pro Tools, all that stuff was relatively new, and your average dude was using some kind of, if they were recording music at home, they were using some kind of unit, like a tape recorder still in 1999, or a unit they maybe bought at like Guitar Center that was like, or a music shop that was, had some workstation features on it, unless they were rich, and most DAWs were getting popular, but most people weren't there yet. And so I didn't want it, and because when vaporwave was popular, DAWs were really big. It was easy to like slow down a track and easy to like throw the reverb on it and just like put it up on Bandcamp. But back then that would have been trickier, to figure out how to do those things. And so back then I think a lot of the indie stuff was like, they had DAWs and they had people made music, on their 4 tracks or whatever, but I don't think it was as quick to, like, people were as quick to riff on each other's stuff. So I wanted it to sound more like kind of like pop music that someone could have feasibly recorded, like in an early DAW or on a 4-track or something like that, and not have these sort of newer vaporwave sounds, because I wanted to sell the feeling that you were on some computer system in the late 90s and not in some indie game developer's silly version of a computer system in the 90s. I wanted you to feel like you were really on some alternate history thing and not like in an indie game, I think that's kind of shaped a lot of my choices in this game, is like making you feel like you're in an alternate reality, 1999, not making you feel like you're in an indie game with like all kinds of anachronisms everywhere. That was very important. Like I didn't want it to be like, because vaporwave is real like wanky, it's cheeky, it's kind of, it's like, there's a lot of irony in it and stuff. So anyway, back to this. So this is a little more of a, this genre, then I just wanted it to be more straightforward pop, I guess. And so they use samples, but more in the way that you would use samples back then. Like if you ever listened to mod music, tracker music, like you would hear like a pretty short sample of like Chill It Right, like that, or like you'd hear an action movie quote, like the music would build up and then stop, and you'd hear an action movie quote, and then there would be the drop, something like that. That's sort of more innocent sampling. It wasn't where people were twisting and turning the samples into a whole new thing. It was like this use of sampling, and so that's kind of what cool punk was. And another thing that cool punk was like, it was riffing on, like, okay, so vaporwave, like I kind of saw vaporwave in there was a few eras of it. And the first one was where the artsy fartsy electronic music people started picking up on that there are commonalities between a few artists, like James Ferraro, for is that how you say it? Anyway, and a few of these artists who were doing it really early on and had this kind of aesthetic, and Macintosh or Floral Shop, and it hadn't been established yet, and all of this kind of were just these people with very similar influences who happened to just be making stuff that overlapped because they grew up maybe around the same time. They were influenced by some similar things, and it was just a genre by virtue of that. It wasn't, they weren't planning it, but then you had that, which I'll call like the pure like first era, And it's useless to then take that and try to codify, oh, this is what vaporwave is. I always thought that was a little silly. And people really tried, being like, oh, yes, it must have samples, I have from whatever, and, and like, and I don't know, but people tried to make certain rule sets about like what it is from that initial sort of wave or even second wave of what vaporwave music was. And then it became like a community, and it almost became an identity for a lot of these guys. I say guys, a lot of these people in the community. And like, I just remember back then, 2016 or 17, reading these subreddits, and it was just endless, like, kind of arguing over if this thing really counts as vaporwave or not. And usually it was a thing that got popular, and then people, because it got popular, it drew a lot of opinions, and some people were like, oh no, this is the same thing happened with like chiptune and fake-a-bit, and people thought, oh no, you need to use chips, you need to use real old video game hardware, or it's not chiptune. And then eventually I think that community settled on, yeah, this stuff is fake-a-bit, but it's okay too. You can listen to it. That's fine. But vaporwave was really, some of these people took it way more seriously, and like there were sub communities where they would police it a lot more, and like your stuff would just be deleted for not following the rules, and people made it their whole thing, and I imagine it was just a couple of people, who were just always posting and very loud about it. It wasn't like, I think most people were probably pretty cool about it. But what started happening, I think, to me, is like, it got so popular as an aesthetic, and the images were so powerful, and the just kind of the vibe of it and the feeling of it was so powerful that people they were attracted to it, and they wanted to make it their thing. Like, yeah, this is my thing, yeah, I'm into vaporwave, kind of, and like, decorate your website, look like that, whatever. And I mean, but that's a thing that young people do a lot. I did that a lot. I did that when I was young. I had many phases where I was like, super identifying with something, and I made it my whole thing, I was probably even a jerk to others about some of those things too. But so I was like, what's a funny way to do that? Like, what's a thing where it has the spirit of that, where there's a bunch of people arguing over what counts and what doesn't count in this sort of made up music genre. And I thought Christmas is something fun. And most people know Christmas songs, and they're mostly in the public domain. And so, but of course, in Hypnospace, the original song is this one, "Colder Than the Rest," that started cool punk, and it was kind of inaccessible. Like, it starts with this really long intro with this. By the way, this is Disaster Piece composed the basis for this section. And you might know Disaster Piece from Fez. So this little mallet section he composed, he sent me a MIDI file of just this little progression. Pretty much just this mallet. And then I built the rest of the song on top of it. And added dynamics and stuff. So that little loop, like the first 24 seconds, that little mallet thing, that was his MIDI file that he sent me. And so this was supposed to be like a critique, there's some irony to it. The lyrics are kind of like, I don't know, on the internet people say I'm 14 and this is deep, kind of like talking about how every society is just drinking up this cola unquestioningly, and they're buying into the advertisements. And it's like the lyrics are kind of like about almost literally worshiping the cola mascot. And then there's a sample heavily used in here of the Chowder Man saying "drink it up." The Chowder Man saying "drink it up" a lot. structurally, this is kind of prog rock, because everything I do, I try to put a little progressive rock in it. If you guys don't know, that's my favorite music. Okay, started in like maybe 1969. Listen to "In the Court of the Crimson King," I guess, or "Close to the Edge." You'll get it. You'll get it. Anyway. So this is a weird track. There's some brass. It dips back into that, and then it builds up again. Thank you. Now I want to talk about this saxophone solo. So let me rewind it slightly. Yeah, it's a saxophone with a lot of filter. I did a lot of filters, and I was turning the cutoff knob on the filters during the saxophone. I just hit record and I turned the filter knob on to make it have this wiggly, warbly sound. So this saxophone solo, though. Anyway, it keeps going and it gets noisier and noisier. Anyway, but that saxophone, that was before I started hiring. I knew about air gigs, which is like the better Fiverr, and that's where I hire people now, or Fiverr or anything to find musicians. And so what I did was I Googled saxophone solo. I Googled my saxophone solo. I searched YouTube for my saxophone solo and found a YouTube video of some guy doing a saxophone solo. I think he's in the credits. And, or maybe not. No, he's not, because I asked him and he didn't reply. And so it was just anyway, but I asked him for permission in the comments of his video back when I made this song. Hey, can I use your saxophone solo because it's in the same key as this song I'm working on, or roughly the same key, but it's jazzy, so it works. And man, he said, yeah, okay. And then so I mixed it in there, and I should look that up again. And then I used a lot of filters because the quality was awful. It was just him in his bedroom, and I used a lot of filters, and I just kind of moved it around to make it work with the music. And I used a lot of filters because you'd hear his room echo. So, but I like the sound of it. I think it sounds kind of cool. And then, I messaged him later on there, and I was like, can I use it in the game? Or no, I asked him that, can I use it in the game earlier? And then I asked him, what's your name for credits or something like this? And he never replied to me. So he might be in the credits. I don't know. Or his YouTube channel name. Maybe he's not. I don't know. But I'll have to find that. But it was just, he had like 2 videos uploaded. One was not musical, and one was just like a blurry, low-res video of him practicing saxophone. Dude, and then I just put that in there. See. I wish, maybe I can find it. No, I'm not gonna go down. You know what? I'm gonna do another stream like this, and then I will have his video to show you all of that saxophone. Okay, so yeah, that's that. It builds up to a climax. And okay, yeah, hold on. I'll get to the end. So you'll hear at the end here. I'm kind of proud of this, okay? A nice little arrangement of comes in at the end here of what's the Christmas song? Greensleeves, right? What child is this? Is this who lay? And you can hear him still saying, "Drink it up." So that sample was from a real Christmas commercial from a long time ago. That at the very end, the guy's down-pitched voice. Yeah, but I like that end. That nice little end of that song is kind of pretty. And and that was me like injecting some subtle Christianity in there with the what child is this? Even though it has many sets of lyrics to that song you could pick. Anyway, so and then we've got what do we got? Icy Girl got a request. So this was the second Freezer song I made. The last one I made was Colder Than the Rest, when I decided to make him have more humble origins, where he was just doing artsy fartsy music. But so in the lore, the same guy produced all of these songs. He did the instrumentation for all of these songs. But in Chill It Right and in Icy Girl, he recorded the vocals for all of them. But in these two, in the lore, he didn't write the lyrics for these. Okay, another guy wrote the lyrics and played him on stage, pretended to be him on stage. Spoilers. And so Freezer, who his name is just Freezer, his name is Ray Dolan, because it rhymes with Jay Dolan in the game. And that's also Father Fungus, if you didn't know. So all of these tracks in the lore were made by the same guy. These 5 tracks, all the same guy in the game, really made these. Yeah, Paul Lewitsky, which maybe I'll see him at Gamescom. He's a cool guy. Anyway, so these, and the reason, the real reason I wrote it this way is to get around a limitation, which my voice is so distinctive, I think, that everyone would just be like, oh, that's just the same guy. That's Freezer, you know? And so, the Basidia stuff and the Freezer stuff. So I was like, why don't I just make that part of the story? A lot of the story beats are like, something was unconvincing and I had to justify it. So this, to me, it was unconvincing that a guy who sounds exactly the same would sing in all of this music. So I made up a story where the guy publicly made Colder Than the Rest. It got very popular and it became a big genre, which was cool punk. And it's mostly like kids messing around who are inspired by it. And then the people inspired by his song took the wrong idea kind of and thought it was like ironic, kitschy, making fun of Christmas, or just kind of almost celebrating these symbols of Christmas in a kitschy, silly way. But then it got claws out a little bit, where people were like gatekeeping and saying, "You're not real cool punk," or whatever. And then he wanted to distance himself from it even more. And then it was at its peak discomfort for him when the soda company he was criticizing was like, "Hey, I hear you cool punks like our soda commercial. Well, we were finally here, you guys." Gray's Peak. They're like, "Hey, we're here, and Joe Man is here. You love him, and he's here, and we love the cool punks." And so, but unfortunately, Ray Dolan was hopeful. He was like, "This is gonna kill it. Yes, finally, cool punk is over," because this corporation got involved. But a lot of the cool punk fans actually loved it. They were like, "Oh, yay. It's getting mainstream because it's so cool. This is awesome." And they loved it. So Ray Dolan was like, "Oh man, this sucks." So he just started a different thing, which was Fungus Scene. And he wanted to make something that was like less accessible, and it had no possibility of taking off. And so it didn't have samples from cola commercials or any irony or anything. And so he tried starting his other movement, which was Fungus Scene. But cool punk was so popular, and it was making music was kind of how he was making money in production, that he couldn't say no, I guess, or he felt he couldn't say no because they offered him so much money to keep producing under freezer and just have someone else pretend to be him on stage. And to him, that wasn't. To Ray, that wouldn't have been too transgressive. It was like, this is what artists have done since Britpop and all that. They were constructed bands, constructed pop artists forever. People write each other's songs, songwriters. Taylor Swift doesn't write all of her songs, or most of them, maybe. It's just how it works. It's not a conspiracy. You can even see in the credits. But, okay, maybe Taylor Swift does write her songs, but many pop artists, okay? I don't want to get those guys mad at me. But, it's common, is what I mean. Anyway. And so, yeah, Icy Girl, I'll play a little bit. So if you haven't picked up on it, all of this guy's lyrics are just bitter songs about a girl not liking him back. That's what all this guy's lyrics. So Ray Dolan didn't write those lyrics. It was the guy he had pretending to be him who wrote those lyrics. But yeah, so yeah, the video I used for the lip sync scandal thing, let me find it, was public domain video. Yeah, I found it on one of those stock footage websites. It's so hard to find old video on any of those stock footage websites. Is it? Maybe it's HTV. See, Freezer sucks. Yeah, let me see if I can rename the extension and play it. What is it? What format is that? Is it MP4? We'll see. We'll try. Yeah, here's this. And actually, you know, it's funny. This video, I think, is part of the reason our age rating is teen or was like mature somewhere. Because you can hear a guy in the background saying horse poop, but not poop. I'm not gonna cuss. Crazy. I'm not gonna swear. Like, yeah, right there you can hear it in the background. I should have recorded myself saying boo or something, but oh well. So yeah, this actually took me a while to composite. So you can't see it, but there's a snowman up there. Yeah, there's Joe Man. And I put him on the screen at their stage, on the stage. And it's like 3 videos composited. The crowd, there's 2 different videos of crowd kind of composited in. Yeah, but I wanted it to be, I'm like, it bugs me if it's not convincing, at least a little convincing. So I was thinking, one thing that made me mad too is I wanted to put the cable station logo down there, like whatever network, but I never decided what that was going to be called, like the MTV was going to be. So I was like, I'll just leave it out, because then I'll yeah, I didn't settle on anything. So, but yeah, this is Paul Lewitsky. He's in a company called Chasing Carrots. It's a German, I think in Stuttgart, a German game development company. Pretty cool. Maybe I'll see them at Gamescom. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so that was that. And I also, like, there are certain there's a little bit of cut time maybe in that song. Certain experimental things that might not be normally in a pop song. And that's how I justified them too, is that it's just this one guy who's not really interested in making these pop songs. And these 2 songs, I could have made a whole album so quickly, because these Chill It Right and Icy Girl took me like a week total to make both of those songs. Like, I think they each took me like 2 or 3 days each just to make. And I was purposefully trying to be like fast and like just get it done, like it was just a job, as opposed to some of this where I pour over it for like months and months, you know, because I thought, yeah, that's what he would have done. So this Formations, this song was like a year from when I started it to when I finished it. It has so many layers, and the arrangement I kept messing with, and like, it's probably one of my favorite songs on this album. I think it's probably this or Ghost of the Grotto are the 2 legitimately best songs. And of course Millennium Anthem, which we'll get to. But Formations, I guess I'll play just because it's my favorite. And also, is the audio loud enough on the music? Because I don't want my voice to like blow your ears away. And then, okay, cool. Then I'll play that. Oh, this is Fungus Scene, and Fungus Scene is drenched, is just absolute. If you want to know what spring reverb sounds like, I ran everything through it, but multiple times. The drum track was separately run through spring reverb, and that's like you can hear that distinctive like splashy sound in this here. That little, when the kick drum hits, Well, not that. That's a drip sample, but. Anyway, this song came right after I procrastinated learning anything about theory for like a zillion years because I've been making music since 2005. Oh my gosh, that's 21 years. I mean, I was like a teenager, was I? Yeah, I was a teenager. I was 18, 17, 18. So 2004, 2005. And it took me until roughly 2017, the end of 2017, where I made an album called Celestial Archive. And I was still not really understanding a lot about theory at all. And it was so frustrating to make that album because I wanted to do some advanced like vocal things. And I was just so limited by like not understanding what I was doing. I knew some theory, like I knew rhythm stuff. I was all doing odd time signatures and doing like weird rhythm stuff, and I was pretty good with rhythm, but harmonics didn't bother to learn it at all. Like I just like I knew some basic chords, and but I didn't I didn't know like what an augmented chord or a diminished chord was, or what the particular extensions, like if you add a 9, what property does that add to it? If you add a 7, like I didn't know those numbers either. Like, so this song is like the first thing I made after learning all that stuff. And so I was like really excited to like put all the nerdy crap in there that I was learning. So that's what that was. And then this one is Ghost of the Grottos in 9. And most of it's in 9, but it switches to 6 every now and then. But it's more fungusine. It's all run through tons of spring reverb, just like all the other fungusine. And it is about Ray Dolan hating writing songs for, like, that's what the lyrics are about him really hating writing songs for Freezer. And he's jealous. Hold on, let me look up the lyrics. He's jealous a little bit. So hold on. This is one of the few songs that I legitimately wrote like as intending it to be like in a character's voice. There are maybe 4 of those. Oh man, there's actually a song, a Disney. Oh man, I didn't know there was a thing. There's an actual thing called that. I thought I made that up. Well, that's disappointing. Look at that. Okay, so, okay. There you go to Genius, the lyric website here. Okay, yeah, thank you for these great advertisements. Okay, so, let's see, how do I get there? Goodness gracious, what? I hate the internet. Oh. Okay, so this is him. Give me a reason to sing your words, to play for you. Will they remember me? Will anyone here remember me? So he's like, yeah, he sold out, like, but he But it's the dream to live on your work. And so this was his first opportunity to do that kind of. So he's like, hidden in darkness, I sing for you. I'm captive here. They'll never hear of me. Look how they love you, you pretty boy. They worship you. When will you let them see? And he's like, I'm up all night playing these melodies. I synthesize these rhythms to, you know, I created you. Like he created the Freezer persona artist. And they won't remember me. And then he says, one day they'll know all I've done for you. And until they do, I'm waiting down here. And so he's just like really jealous, very jealous of Freezer for like the guy who's pretending to be him in this band, kind of getting all the credit and for what his work and stuff like that. And I mean, it's kind of complicated because it was his choice to kind of sell out and take the money and be like, yeah, I'll do this arrangement. He signed the contract. But I think if you do that long enough, anyone would kind of be like, man, this sucks. You know, like no one will ever know like this, that I did this. And yeah, kind of like, I wonder if ghostwriters feel that way sometimes, especially if something gets like acclaim. That must really sting if like you're a ghostwriter and contractually you're not allowed to like reveal who you are, and then a thing just gets massively popular and what can you do? And people are like, oh, what an excellent, this is the literary genius of this century. Yeah. Yeah. So the other thing, this is theological a little bit, because I was thinking of I was thinking that like scripture says like God is jealous, a jealous God, and maybe that's out of context for this, but it's because it's really about the thing that I think in that scripture is about the things that you prioritize over God. So like your pursuit of wealth or whatever, and he would be jealous of that, kind of like the idols and stuff. But this is similar to that though. This is like this is mostly Freezer, but there's a little theological stuff it started as. I edited it to make it more about Freezer, but this is like the idea that there's nothing new. There's this different scripture in Ecclesiastes, which is like the existentialist book of the Bible. Like it really makes you depressed to read Ecclesiastes. A lot of stuff about meaninglessness, but and in that book, there's the idea that there's nothing new under the sun. So everything that you could possibly make is something that came before. You didn't pull these ideas you got these ideas somewhere, and maybe you've combined them in an inventive way, but they're still from somewhere. And so the amount of credit you can really take is kind of limited. Like, and for this, it's like, God is like, I gave you all this skill, and I gave you the circumstances that you were born into to enable you to make the things that you're making. Like I was thinking, a lot of people don't have the luxury of like absorbing all this music and like learning all these instruments and having a computer to record on. And God's like, God's telling the person, the artist here, I'm the guy. You should let people know I'm the guy, actually. that like in theology, some people say that there is no, it's wrong it would be wrong or inaccurate to say that you've created anything. You could simply say you invented, or you could say you rearranged, but creation is only the thing that God did. And then you take the elements that are already extant, that already exist, and you put them into something, you know, you make something out of them, but you haven't created. You've maybe invented, maybe you've remixed, but maybe you haven't created. I don't know if I agree with that, but that's a theological idea. And so I was thinking that in humility, God's like, yeah, I'll stick around. Someday they'll figure it out. It wasn't all you that did this, but yeah. So that was part of it too. But it was mostly about Freezer and this guy. Anyway, so we're getting to close to the end here, so I'll quickly run through. I'll just get through this first part. Next time I'll do all the sequenced music, and I'll open all the sequencer and show you in the sequencer what the music looks like. But because if you didn't know, we had Mike Lash. So I mocked up this art for the sequencer, and I sent it to Mike Lash, and we went back and forth, and he made a sequencer for the game. So it's actually, the game is actually processing sequencer data and triggering samples in real time, which is why, sadly, on some mobile devices, it is extremely slow because they just can't handle the sequencer stuff. But I don't know, we did our best. Anyway, most it's okay, but anyway, so let's see here. We've got the next one is Secret Forest. Okay, I'll do this a little bit. So the soundscape generator was kind of inspired by early VSTs and some early software that just like maybe doesn't have much practical use, but I like the idea of like pre-rendered knobs and buttons and stuff. And originally it was going to be, like everything, a lot more complicated and you'd have a lot more features, but it was fine for what it is. I think it's a little opaque how it works. It responds to clicking and typing. So if you click and type a lot, then it generates more audio. And the more you don't, the less you do, the quieter it gets, and the less it generates until it just gets silent eventually. But yeah, that's how the soundscape generator works. The more you're doing typing and clicking, the more it will generate. So this is all white key harmony, you know, like probably the key of C, just because, or it might be a Lydian. No, I think it's all just white key harmony, maybe. But in this is not actually really recorded from the sequencer, but I did kind of follow the rules of it, and I arranged it in a way that could have feasibly happened in the game to make this for the soundtrack. But yeah, I like that little sort of percussion that implies a frog that happens here and there. And I think this is rain that I recorded from my window when I lived with my dad in Florida. That's some of my rain. Original rain. Not from the internet. Anyway, so Hypnospace 2 is sort of, see here. I learned how to swing. So that little operating system intro, that's one of those things, Brian, like I had the Brian Eno experience because he describes working on this tiny piece of music for the, was it Windows 95 or 98 intro? And it was like 10 seconds long, but he must have listened to hours of like this 10 seconds, this little bit of 10 seconds of music, and was like just nudging it and trying to get it perfect, you know? And so that's kind of the experience I put myself through with just this beginning part, just like working on the layers and the arrangement so that it was just like perfect, you know? So this was made really close to the end, and I couldn't wait for a drummer. So this is 2 drum loops I got from a free, one of those websites where you just pay to download free loops. Embarrassingly, the brush drums, and I put another layer over the top with a drum, sort of VST, virtual drummer thing, to make it sound a little more varied, but it's mostly just a loop. And it came with that one fill, which I think I edited it later. You can hear Mellotron flute in here. One thing that I wanted to do, I wanted this to sound a little like hints of exotica, which is a genre, sort of a mood music genre that, and people would listen to it, you know, during dinner to make it feel like they're in a tiki bar or something. I don't know. I think there's a little modulation like that. I mean, rhythmic modulation on that little. Anyway, so that song plays during the year 2000 update, you know. So technically that startup sound should go after it, but whatever. It was a good intro to the song. And then we get the big song from the end credits, which let me I think my stream will, I mean, I don't do monetization, but I also don't want to get like a copyright thingy anyway. So look up Half-Handed Cloud. I'll type in a notepad. It's called Half-Handed Cloud Nativity Costume 2000 New Year's Eve. That's what it's called. So look this up. Let me make it really big for you guys. Hold on. Look that up. And that is the original version of Millennium Anthem. That's the credits song of the game, if you didn't know. And this is by Half-Handed Cloud. I'll put the artist name here. Okay. And Half-Handed Cloud is, I mean, I guess the best way to describe him is, what do you call it? It's like Baroque pop, proggy pop, really strange pop music. He records most of it on tape, like 4-track tape recorders. It's quite intricate. The songs are very short though, like usually around 1 minute, max like 3 minutes, but usually 1 minute or so. And usually on his albums, all of the songs run together. So his albums are a suite, and so it's kind of like progressive rock in that way. How progressive rock often had like a 20-minute song that was really like 5 songs put together into a suite. But his music has a lot of the things like those albums did, like reprises and themes that come back. And well, actually he doesn't do that much. Sometimes he does it, but it's subtle. But yeah, all the tracks run together usually, and it's very intricate music. But this song, it's relatively simple for one of his songs, and not that weird actually. His vocal harmonies are beautiful. In fact, I prefer the vocal in his version over mine. He also did the Future Recycler music for the game, which I can play. So let me find that. And his name is John. And it's kind of cool because through this game, I've been able to become sort of acquaintances or friends with him. I don't know what we would call each other, but he was on my new album, my new solo album, too. So let me see. Here's his music he did for the game. It's all quite short, so each song is under a minute.
When I ask the time, you can't be mine. You're looking directly at my polo tie. Fit with the clock, now it's time to take stock. The sand will run out, build your house on the rock. The ages clap for me. Recycling's free, so stop being lazy. How many minutes before the end. Let me remind you it's soon, so now let's be friends.
There we go. And then we've got
Are you crying in your sweater, or are you sweating? It's amazing what you wager with all.
I mean, it's a solo album because I composed the album and recorded like all the instrumentation. Are you familiar with music? Most solo albums, I think, have guest artists. I have guest saxophones people who do solos. He does some background vocals on the album. Half-Handed Cloud does. Someone in the chat said, how is it a solo album if you have guests? I think most solo albums have other musicians other than the... You call it a solo album because you composed it, I think. So, okay.
You're betting that the earth will stay an icicle.
Oh, that's okay. So you were earnestly asking that question. Okay, I thought you... Sorry. The beginning of this stream was a nightmare, so I'm like looking at there thinking people are being more critical than they are now. But yeah, so yeah, sorry if I sounded demeaning, but that's what it is. It's like you get guest artists who can play instruments better than you. Like I can't play saxophone or flute, so I just get those guys to come in. Or you just are a fan and you're like, hey, I'm your fan. Would you like to record? I'll send you some of my tracks if you want to record something over it and send me your recorded part back. That kind of thing, you know? And then so they guest on your album. Okay, anyway. Okay, so I'll finish his stuff.
Come on, Trina, is it really tricycle?
Yeah.
It's the new deal, and stop forgetting.
I think that was 4/4 at the end still, but it was a weird one.
Swatter. It's a sweater made from water. Squatter. The new underwear swatter. Velvet snowman. Where did you go, man? Into the swatter, 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 into the swatter.
I have a trivia for you here. At the end, he makes a snowman face. Musically, a snowman face. All right, now listen to this, okay? Now, let me get Notepad here. I'm going to show you. He sent me this in an email. He said, I'm making a snowman face. And let me do this. All right, so hopefully this is clear enough. All right, so this is his snowman face, okay? And so listen to this at the end of this song here. All right.
Where did you go, man? Into the swatter, into the swatter, into the
2,
swatter, into the
1,
swatter, into the
1, 2, 3. Okay, so he does these hits. And it's like bum 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 bum. And so that was his snowman face in the music. Anyway, that's what he... Let me see if I can hear it again. There's the 2. Because you hear at the end he says snowman. And then he does the... There's the 2. There's the 1. And then the 3. Yeah. That's cute. I just want to hear this song again. It's so catchy. Okay, one more.
Swatter. It's a sweater made from water. Squatter. The new underwear swatter. into this water, 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 into this water.
Okay, anyway, so all that said, he's the guy who composed Millennium Anthem, the original version. I rewrote some of it to be kind of from the perspective of a character in the game whose dad takes away her headband because she has been super involved in the Squishers community. And she entered a Squishers art contest. And in their house, Squishers is not allowed because it is satanic. And so I've actually had, maybe because people are more brash lately, but I had people message me on X or whatever, or it's embarrassing that I'm on there still, I guess, but and they're and tag me, and they're like, why are you so critical of Christians and stuff like that? And I'm like, okay, I grew up a big Pokemon fan. I was like, the first game came out when I was like 10, and I was obsessed, and I had the cards. And at church, my parents weren't like this, but I remember lots of people who really thought, not lots, but a few, two or three adults, which is a lot for a small church, who really thought Pokemon was satanic. And there were like weird publications that were like, look at the shape of this, the Poliwhirl or whatever, like the spiral was some kind of evil symbol, and like just looking for symbols and things all in Pokemon to like show that it's satanic or something like that. Anyway, most of the people there didn't buy that, and most of their kids just played Pokemon. But there was one family who didn't let their kids do Pokemon stuff. And it was really their kids. I think their kids were adopted too, and their kids really wanted to, though. I was like tempted to like slip them some Pokemon cards, you know. But I felt bad for those kids though, because I'm sure there were other things too, or that I think my parents not being so dumb about that stuff was probably part of why I'm still a Christian. Like they weren't too bad about that kind of stuff. But so there's a character in the game though, and her family thinks that like there's going to be the rapture on New Year's Eve, and that wasn't very common to think that. In our church and in most churches, they taught. There's a scripture that says, no man knows the day or the hour when the Lord is returning. And so it's useless to chase after that. Just behave yourself and live like you should live. And then you'll be caught unaware one day, maybe. And that's even people who teach the rapture as a doctrine. That's what they teach generally. Yeah, but sometimes I think people really get themselves believing that the numbers line up, and many times I think they're just opportunists and they're just trying to make money. But either way though, this family believed it. Maybe they went to a church where that's what they were teaching or something. And so I liked but when I was listening to the original song, Nativity Costume, New Year's Eve, the lyric is Y2K, you let me down. And I talked to John about this song, and like it's kind of amusing in a way, because people who believed like that the world was going to end, it has to be a little bit of a letdown, like that. No, the world didn't end. Actually, it's just normal again. It's just the same, because you might get yourself so emotionally and so so it's like you're preparing for a plane crash or something. Now for them, they would presumably be going to heaven, so it's probably a happy thing, but still you're preparing for the end of existence on this plane or maybe as you know it, existence. And so it's got to be like so tense leading up to that moment when the year switches over, and like everything that you're in a new body now. It's just got to be like, if you bought into that, it has to be so tense, that experience of like, and then when it doesn't happen, it must feel so strange, and there must be some disappointment. There must be, because you got so I imagine, like, even though you would think it would be relief, and so I like the idea of being disappointed that the world didn't end. I thought that was really interesting and almost a little funny in a sardonic way, maybe, like this sense of disappointment that the world was not over, like, so I think that's what his song's about. But I changed it to like make it specifically about this girl, and kind of explaining that her family was like, they prepped a little bit in case it didn't end. So they got their jugs of water and stuff like that. So I guess that actually implies, I actually didn't think about this, because now I'm realizing I should have changed other things, because if they thought the rapture was coming, they wouldn't get jugs of water. It would be the rapture. They don't need to, right? They don't need to get bread. So they don't need to like collect things. So actually that's a bit of a weak point in my treatment of this song. Don't tell anyone. But I guess you could say that maybe they didn't really buy it all the way. But anyway, so yeah, so the song describes there's a bridge in the original song that's about God intervening when it's my chance to shine, And so for this girl, she was she had her art contest that she was gonna win, and she's like, God, why did my dad take my headband away? And I don't know if I won this art contest, because like the idea was that she poured a lot of herself into this art contest and was hoping that she might win. And so her dad takes her headband away before New Year's Eve, which may have saved her life, which was kind of part of the humor of it, a little bit of subtle humor maybe, which, okay, her parents were kind of unreasonable, maybe thinking, I don't know if unreasonable is right, because you don't know why people buy into the stuff they do. But I think her parents really did think squishers were satanic. And so that would be bad, obviously. But they may have saved her from injury or death or something, because then spoilers, if you never played the game, because then she didn't experience the mind crash. She didn't have a headband anymore. And so in a sense, they did kind of help her by doing that. But it's kind of like it's a bit tragic too. But so I'm thinking, yeah. So I guess I'll play this song though, so you can hear. Maybe I'll pull up the lyrics. Here it is. Oh, this website is so stupid. So many ads. Get away, go away. I'm always scared of closing ads, because I'm scared it's gonna be like a fake close button, Anyway. Oh, you know what? Actually, no. This just describes that the shelves are empty because other people are prepping. So they say the bread makers are controlling the weather. So maybe it's not too weak. Okay. Sorry, I didn't remember my own lyrics. Okay, I'll play the song now and shut up. Okay, sorry to pause it, but this was used. That beginning part was used every time the time advanced in the game, and of course that's just the verse. That's the pre-chorus progression of this song. So yeah, most people picked up on that that's the pre-chorus of this song, this beginning little chunk. I just put it at the beginning of the song so it would be on the soundtrack. And here, this is where the actual project file song starts. I just appended that to the beginning, but you'll notice that there are many different sounds, and I wanted it to sound like kind of have that postmodern thing of just like all of the sounds from the game are in this one song. So there's every time the arpeggio hits a note, it's a different sound. So there are like at least 60 or more different sounds for each note that you hear playing this beginning arpeggio, like here, like. So it's like, just I wanted it to feel like all of the different web pages and everything culminated into this end thing, Of course, in this year's Mellotron flute. And the little drum snare thing is kind of, that comes up. I really like this. This, sorry. Hello. Are we back? Are we back in business? Can you hear me? Okay, good. This is a dumb thing that my audio interface keeps doing. I keep having to restart it every hour. Anyway, 2 hours. Okay, so let me rewind it a little bit. I was gonna note someone asked what the woohoo sound is, and it's like if someone knows the name of it, please say. It's a Brazilian percussion instrument, I think, which is cool because Brazil has been our like number 2 sales because this Gemma plays, I don't know how you say it, account did a video about Hypnospace, and a lot of Brazilians, even though there's no localization, which we might work on one day, actually, maybe for a 10-year thing, I don't know. But we want to localize it really bad. I'm even thinking about, this will be after our current slate of projects, my 3 projects I'm working on. I want to finish all 3 of them before I do anything else to get them off of my plate, so that people stop coming in the comments of everything saying you never finish anything. So, okay. Anyway, so let's see here. Hold on a sec. Yeah, that little thing. But that was so common in like Rompler sound sets that, and I remember General MIDI, like the Windows sort of pre-packed in MIDI set of sounds. Web pages would use that sound a lot. I don't know, and like the dog barking too and stuff. So. So one thing about this song too is the drum part. I was so this was probably the worst time. Like he was cool with it. The drummer was cool, but it was probably unpleasant a little bit because I spent like a week making the drum part in like MIDI and like really finely tuning all of where the kicks and the snares and like all the fills, and I sent it to the session musician and I'm like, play this exactly and don't change anything except one part, and it's where this breakdown, where this song slows down. I told him you can do any fill you want in this part we're about to get to. I told him any fill, any drum fill you want, whatever you want, do anything there, but the rest of it, do it exactly how I wrote it because I just liked the arrangement that I did. So I don't know, maybe drummers are fine with that or used to that, like play this exactly. I think people do that with music they like, but I think as a session guy, it's maybe a little bit of a drag to have to like transcribe someone's MIDI drumming and then have to, you know, do it exactly. But I kind of made him do that. I wanted it to be exactly. Anyway. So right here, this is his. There you go. I let him have a little. And of course, in the background, you hear the Mellotron choir coming up and stuff. This, I do have regrets about actually how I mixed this song, but everyone likes it, so it's fine, I guess. But there are some layers super buried in the background that would have been cool to come up. And then some of the tracks are unnecessary. Some of those pads, the choir is okay, but there are too many pads, and they just block out some of the cool little details. But I think I lost a lot of the source for this because I'm super disorganized. So anyway. Someone asked, Pat asked about the Silva Gunner remixes, and I don't know why Silva Gunner love Hypnospace so much. Maybe it's because the sequencer makes it easy to edit the songs from the game. But I do like those. They're clever and funny. I don't have anything else to say, though. They're cute. I like them. And I think they brought some attention to the game a little bit. So. Oops. Okay, so here's a piece of trivia. This theme was meant to be in other parts of the game. So let me I'll show you what I mean. This one that comes up right here. Yeah, that one. Okay. Right here. Okay, it's coming here. This theme coming up here, it was meant to be like in other parts of the game. Like that theme was supposed to be woven into, I want to say I was supposed to put that in. I don't remember what character was supposed to have it. It might have been Dylan's page. No, it wasn't Dylan. No. It was supposed to be. No, it was supposed to be in Robbie's pages, or Roddy Wall's pages. Sorry, right here. And I wanted that to be like a nice little. Oh yeah, that's Roddy's little theme, but I never got around to like making the music for his page. And then here come all those sounds again. Anyway, thank you guys. Yeah, so Half-Handed Cloud, Galactic Chaos asked if I reached out to Half-Handed Cloud first. Yeah, I messaged, I think we were friends on Facebook from a long time ago, because I stalked all those guys. Like, I was a fan like in 2010 or whatever. And anyway, I think we were friends on Facebook, and I asked him on Facebook if that would be cool. And he said, yeah. And then I said, hey, well, do you want to do some music for the game? And then he did music for the 2020 update, Hypnospace Plus. Yeah, so that's that. And I think I might stop it there. Eulogy, I'll do it quickly. I'm actually, this song, I wish I spent more time on. There are parts of it that the piano sound I'm not super happy with. That's okay. I wish I kind of went to a studio or went somewhere and recorded mic'd up a real piano, because this is a VST piano, and this is just more of Millennium Anthem, And this is, the reverb is like shimmer reverb. It's like it's known for like a Brian Eno effect. Like, he's popularized it anyway. It's where you pitch up the stuff you've made by an octave or two, and then you just dissolve it in reverb, and so it has this shimmering quality to it. So those little sounds are once again this guy, just this guitar tuned to a with 4 strings, but I put a low string back on it for that part. Anyway. Those sounds, the a little glitchy sounding, are from this keyboard I had. A cheap keyboard, and it had a volume slider on it. It was like an 80s cheap keyboard, and when you changed the volume slider, it was busted, and all of these little weird wiggly variations that you hear are just because the volume slider was broken and it did something to the voltage or something and made it just sound so interesting. So I didn't need to try very hard to make that sound interesting. It just did it because it was a busted old thrift store keyboard. Like, I'll play that little part here. Yeah, that. Yeah, that little thing. I wish I had it. I do have those samples, actually. I have a story about those too. Hold on. This is a Space Echo for sure. I love Space Echo. If you don't know the Roland Space Echo, it's a common like effect in like dub music and old progressive rock, psychedelic rock. And you can turn up the input to distort it quite a bit, but you can also turn up the feedback to make it kind of have a feedback loop in on itself, and it just becomes overbearing and strange. And anyway, okay, so here is this here I'll add this. This is, I think, if I'm correct, this is the sample. Let's see if I can. Yeah, this is the GTX keyboard here. And so let me see here. I guess it had stereo. Yeah, it had stereo outputs, which was great. I mean, the title is Volume Slider Glitchy. Pretty. Because I thought it was kind of pretty, you know. And really, the keyboard itself is a simple waveform, you know, based keyboard. So it's just like basic 8-bit waveforms, but it had this sort of weird volume tremolo thing to it going on. Oh, I may have used a distortion pedal here. Wait, hold on. Or not. Let me see. Let's hear how it sounds. Okay, yes. Okay. You guys, I have to repent. I think I lied. Give me a break though. I think I recorded this. When was this? Properties. 2015 I recorded this. So I did use a fuzz pedal here. I turned it on at that point, but the variance in the volume really did cause a lot of the interesting sound. My viewers are going down because we're just sitting here listening to noise. Anyway, that's okay. Anyway, that's that. And I have another piece of lore. And this is called Rich Samples. And that is because Disaster Piece, Rich Vreeland, I used to post on a forum that he posted on like a long time ago. And we weren't good friends or anything. It was mostly me bugging him about like what he was making before Fez. It was like 2005 or 6, and he had 1 or 2 albums out at that point, and I bugged him to play a guitar solo for something I was working on, and he did, but I lost it. I wish I didn't lose it. The thing I was working on sucked. It was terrible. So it was very kind of him to record a guitar solo for me when it was awful. But so we were acquaintances a little bit, and then he ended up doing Fez, and then getting into like doing movie soundtracks. And Adventure Time, he was going to compose the soundtrack to one Adventure Time episode, and he put out a request, or I don't know if he emailed me or if he put a public request, but whatever. For samples, because he wanted to micro sample a bunch of junk, you know, and use it for his soundtrack. So some of this, he said, is on Adventure Time. Some of my dumb samples. So this is an organ from my dad's house. It's a real organ. Like, that was another thrift store. It was $40, this organ. Yeah, but I used some of these samples in Hypnospace as well. Yeah. But it had a little rotating speaker inside and stuff like that. It's a cool organ because it's a little glitchy too. It has some electronic issues. Like, you hear the little... Yeah, anyway, yeah, so, yeah, and here's a ukulele. This is before I had a real electric ukulele. It's just an acoustic ukulele with a little pickup slapped onto it. And I ran it through a fuzz pedal. Anyway, yeah. That would have been a good sample for the sequencer, really. Staccato... ukulele. Yeah, there's me doing some staccato ukulele. Yeah, anyway, so some of this stuff is on there. This guitar fuzz might have been used in the game. That might have been, some of this might have been the source for some of the sequencer samples. Some of this guitar, see. This, wait a minute. This, listen to this. Well, these all were my samples. I recorded them in my room. But, oh, I don't, to say who contributed, who else? Oh, I don't know. You'd have to ask him who else. But for this game, there were lots of samples. Though I think most of them were just from my many years of recording stupid stuff. But listen to this. This is from the intro. Here, listen. So now listen to this. Listen. I found it. Huh? You hear that? You hear that guitar in there? It's in there. It's funny. I guess I do have some of this stuff. Yeah, anyway. Okay, y'all, it's midnight here, so I gotta go to bed. But it was nice to do this stream. And I'm glad that those guys who were being jerks didn't stick around. Or maybe they did stick around and now they are just watching the stream. So if you're still here, I'm glad you stuck around, even though you were a jerk to me. And yeah, I think I'll do this again for volume 2. And I'll use the sequencer and show the sequencer. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'll see you all later. Oh, I don't know when the next one is, whenever I can do it. It'll be around the same time window though, you know. All right. Okay, bye everybody. Oh, I'm not going to make a date now. I can't. My priority is getting my projects done and taking care of these kids. And so whenever I have a window open, I'll do a stream. I don't want to like get myself in a pickle where I'm supposed to finish a certain thing for my game, one of my games, and then I have to stream instead. Because right now I'm trying to get one of my games signed, so I just need to do that first. But I'll stream when I have time. All right, bye, bye everybody. Well, I have to announce that. I will note. Someone said I've learned to never announce things before they're ready, and like. For marketing purposes, I kind of have to, though, like announce them in advance. But this time, unlike Dream Settler, I'm going to wait. I will wait till the game is like 50% done, like my big game. Then I'll announce it. And also this game is a solo project, my next big game. And I've not had a problem before with a big project. So it'll come out. Yeah. So, okay. Good night, everybody. I'll see you next time.